As the night descends upon the narrow, twisting lanes of Whitechapel, London in 1888, a sinister figure emerges from the shadows. Whitechapel, in the latter part of the 19th century, was a place of stark contrasts. On one hand, it was a bustling, vibrant district teeming with life. On the other, it was a dark, grimy world, filled with the desperate and the destitute. The labyrinthine alleyways and tightly packed tenements were home to the city's poorest, a melting pot of immigrants and locals grappling with poverty, disease, and crime. The air was often dense with the stench of overcrowded slums, the smoke from factories, and the noises of a city that never truly slept. The streets were filled with the desperate cries of street hawkers, the clatter of horse-drawn carriages, and the occasional drunken brawl spilling out from the numerous public houses. Yet beneath the surface, an undercurrent of fear was slowly beginning to take hold. A fear that would soon grip the entire district, and indeed the world. Fear of a mysterious figure who would emerge from the shadows, his intentions unknown, his identity concealed by the cloak of darkness. This figure would soon earn a name that would echo through the annals of crime history: Jack the Ripper. The Ripper was not the first criminal to stalk the streets of Whitechapel, nor would he be the last. But his crimes were of a different magnitude altogether. They were brutal, horrifying, and carried out with an audacity that left the community reeling. The Ripper didn't just kill, he terrorized, leaving a trail of fear and uncertainty that would change Whitechapel forever. As the sun set each evening, the streets would empty, the doors would close, and the residents would huddle inside their homes, their hearts pounding with a fear they had never known before. The darkness was no longer just a lack of light, it was a shroud, a cover, for the evil that lurked within. Little did anyone know that these dark, foggy streets would soon become a stage for a series of horrifying murders. The stage was set, the actors in place, and the curtain was about to rise on one of the darkest chapters in the history of true crime. The first scream pierced the night on August 31st, 1888. The chilling cry belonged to Mary Ann Nichols, the first known victim of the infamous Jack the Ripper. Nichols was found in the early hours of the morning, her life extinguished in the most brutal of ways. Her throat had been sliced twice from left to right and her abdomen mutilated with deep, jagged wounds. The brutality of the crime was shocking, and it was only the beginning. Just a week later, on September 8th, Annie Chapman met the same gruesome fate. Chapman's injuries mirrored those of Nichols, but this time the murderer had taken something. A part of her organ was missing. This alarming detail added a new layer of horror to the crime, suggesting a killer with knowledge of human anatomy and a chilling disregard for his victims. The night of September 30th, 1888 was particularly bloody, with 2 murders taking place in less than an hour. Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes were both found with their throats cut and their bodies mutilated. The similarities between the murders were undeniable, pointing to a single, monstrous perpetrator. The final and most horrific murder was that of Mary Jane Kelly on November 9th. Kelly was found in her room, her body mutilated to an extent far worse than the previous victims. The sheer savagery of the attack left no doubt that these murders were the work of the same individual, a killer who would become known as Jack the Ripper. These 5 murders, carried out over a span of just 10 weeks, sent shockwaves through the district of Whitechapel. The brutality of the crimes, the seeming randomness of the victims, and the chilling efficiency with which they were carried out, all pointed to a killer who was not just dangerous but terrifyingly proficient. As the body count rose, so did the panic. The people of Whitechapel lived in a constant state of fear, their lives overshadowed by the shadowy figure of Jack the Ripper. The authorities were baffled, the public was terrified, and the press was in a frenzy. As the reign of Jack the Ripper continued unabated, the investigation to unmask this face of evil became a priority of the highest order. The London police, in their desperate bid to solve the case, had to grapple with the grim reality of the Ripper's grisly handiwork. The crime scenes were a testament to the monster they were dealing with, a savage who left behind a horrifying tableau of violence. Yet in the midst of the carnage, clues emerged. The infamous "From Hell" letter, purportedly from the Ripper himself, added a chilling dimension to the public's fear and fascination. The letter was received by George Lusk, the leader of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, who was working tirelessly to bring the Ripper to justice. Within the envelope was half a kidney, believed to be from one of the Ripper's victims. The accompanying note bore a sinister message, taunting the authorities with their inability to catch him. The list of suspects was as diverse as it was perplexing. Among them were local butchers, surgeons, and even prominent figures of the society. The police were grappling with a multitude of theories, each one more baffling than the last. The Ripper was thought to be a man of medical knowledge, given the precision of his mutilations. Others believed he was a local, familiar with the labyrinthine streets of Whitechapel. A myriad of letters, most likely hoaxes, flooded the police, each claiming to be from the Ripper. This not only hampered the investigation, but also fueled the public's terror and the media's sensationalism. Despite the tireless efforts of the authorities, the case eventually went cold. Theories abound, suspects were interrogated and released, and clues were painstakingly examined, yet the identity of the Ripper remained elusive. The figure of Jack the Ripper, shrouded in the mists of uncertainty and terror, had effectively slipped through the grasp of justice. Despite the best efforts of the police, the identity of Jack the Ripper remained a mystery. The last known murder occurred on November 9, 1888. A chilling autumn morning in London's East End, the gruesome discovery of Mary Jane Kelly's body sent shockwaves through the community. This was no ordinary killing, but the signature handiwork of the infamous Jack the Ripper. Kelly, a young woman of 25, was believed to be the Ripper's final victim, her death marking the abrupt end of a reign of terror that had held London in its icy grip. Theories abound as to why the murders suddenly stopped. Some suggest the Ripper might have died or been incarcerated for an unrelated crime, while others propose he might have moved elsewhere, or perhaps even admitted to an asylum, escaping the clutches of justice. The lack of evidence and the passage of time have only served to deepen the mystery, rather than provide any clear answers. Perhaps one of the most compelling theories is that Jack the Ripper, whoever he was, simply decided to stop. This theory paints a chilling portrait of a killer in control, capable of starting and stopping his murderous spree at will. A man who left no clues, no traces, nothing but terror and unanswered questions in his wake. The end of the nightmare was as sudden as its beginning. The streets of Whitechapel slowly returned to their normal rhythm, but the memory of the Ripper's reign of terror lingered, casting a long and eerie shadow over the district. The people were left with an unforgettable scar, a haunting reminder of the horrors they had endured. In the absence of any conclusive evidence, the identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in the annals of crime. Theories continue to be proposed, suspects examined and dismissed, but the truth, it seems, is as elusive as the man himself. With no more murders, Jack the Ripper vanished into the night as suddenly as he had appeared. His name, however, continues to resonate, a chilling reminder of a time when a faceless killer held a city captive with fear. More than a century later, the name Jack the Ripper still sends a chill down our spines. This shadowy figure from the past has continued to captivate our collective imagination, his story echoing through the corridors of time. The Ripper's reign of terror may have been brief, but the ripples it created have spanned generations, etching a permanent mark in the annals of crime history. The enduring fascination with the Ripper has given rise to an abundance of theories about his identity. From butchers and surgeons to royals and artists, the list of suspects reads like a who's who of Victorian England. It's the perfect fodder for the armchair detective, a tantalizing puzzle with pieces that never quite fit together. And yet, despite the countless hours spent poring over the evidence, the Ripper's true identity remains as elusive as ever. This unsolved mystery has made Jack the Ripper a staple of popular culture. He has crept into our books, our films, our TV series, and even our video games. From Alan Moore's graphic novel, From Hell, to the BBC drama Ripper Street, his influence is everywhere. He's become a symbol of the unknown, a representation of the fear that comes from the unexplainable and the unpredictable. Jack the Ripper's legacy goes beyond the realm of entertainment. His crimes marked a turning point in the field of criminal investigation. They highlighted the need for a more scientific approach to solving crimes, paving the way for modern forensic science. His case also served as a stark reminder of the social inequality and dire living conditions of the Victorian era, which spurred social reform. Jack the Ripper's story, shrouded in mystery and horror, continues to haunt us, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most ordinary places. Through the fog of time and the veil of uncertainty, the specter of the Ripper continues to loom, a testament to our enduring fascination with the macabre and the unknown.